Hi everyone, I'm Rohit and today I'll show you how to use Segmind instances. Segmind instances are instances you can use for PyTorch or TensorFlow development. You can try out different models, you can use it to create pipelines, or you can also move between CPU and GPU compute on Segmind instances. To get started, you can go to cloud.segmind.com. You can sign in using this page, and if you haven't already signed up, you can use the same page to sign up. To get started with creating a new instance, you can click on this new instance button. You can fill this out to get started with your instance. Today I'm going to use a library called mmDetection. mmDetection is a computer vision library for object detection. I'm going to name this instance mmDetection demo. You need an environment to get started with, and I have an environment that I had created before called mmDetection PyTorch 1.8, Python 3.8. If you have a custom environment requirement, you can click on base image, and in here you can create a new base image. You can name this mmDetection. You can choose an Ubuntu version. You can choose a Python version that works for your library. You can also choose a framework version that works for your library and hit create. And within 10 minutes, you should see the image as available, and as soon as it's available, it should pop up in this dropdown. Let me select a T4 machine to get started with. This will let me use GPU to do the training sessions. I'm choosing Jupyter Notebook as my interface. Also, there's 20 GB of storage that comes by default, and I'm just going to let it be. This could be used to store all the temporary files and also your code files that are on the instance. Once you hit create, it's going to take a couple of minutes before you can access the instance. This is the first time you're creating an instance, so all the Docker images are being created and being pulled to the instance. So once you have your instance ready, it'll show you the status here. You can go back to working in your environment. I'd created a zip file with a little bit of data and some code. Let me upload that. And by the time this gets uploaded, let me update my packages to install zip. I have a notebook called train.ipynb that contains my code. Here you can check that the instance is running on a T4 GPU. Let me do my imports first. If you see, this part is creating a new kitty tiny dataset for the further context. I've imported a config file that basically sets in all the parameters for using faster RCNN on ResNet 50 backbone. mmDetection comes with a config setup module using which you can override all the configs that have been imported from this file. So this is the snippet of code that is going to start our training sessions. We see a couple of warnings, but hopefully the training should start. Oops. Oh, this needs tensor board. What I can do is I can go back to terminal, install tensor board. Come back to my notebook and make sure I restart my kernel to load these new libraries. Go back once again, execute all these cells, and you can get started with training. So it has TensorBoard integrated already. You could also install weights and biases or Comet ML or Neptune to monitor it on their dashboards. So if you look at this, training is happening right now, and this is how you get started with training. And let's say once your training is done and you have this snippet of code to test out inferences, instead of wasting inference on GPU machine, you could basically say, hey, I need to move back to a CPU machine. Go to micro, and this is going to take your container and move it from a GPU host to a CPU host. This lets you kind of move between GPU CPU computes as and when you want without the added headache of pulling the dockers and setting it up all over again. You can also use the share feature to share this instance with your teammate or colleague. You can simply add their email address and they should be able to access this instance. So this is pretty much how Segmind simplifies compute and instances for data scientists. If you have any questions or feedback, do leave them in the comments. Thank you so much.